Hello and welcome to this new game review. We'll have a look at a lot of instances where the opponents ignored each other's threats, and at the end the winner was the one that took more pieces from the opponent. So this is very important. In chess we have to be able to see our opponent's threats and to execute our own threats. So e4, e5, bishop c4 starts like this, and here black plays queen h4, which is a bad move. Firstly, this violates the principle of developing the queen too early, and also it will lose a lot of time. Here white should just defend the pawn on e4, which is the first thing. We have to understand what the point of our opponent's move is. It's not only to attack checkmate, but also to attack this. For example, after here, black would likely try to checkmate on f2, but again we can understand this, play queen e2, and after the threats are gone, black has to start developing pieces, for example d6 or c6, but after now knight f3, which was a move that we would have made anyway, we also gain time, as now black has to waste time with his queen, and after, for example, castling, we have a big lead in development. So instead white plays f3, knight f3, but this unfortunately gives up the pawn on e4, and this also forks the bishop and the king. So white sees this and it prevents both threats. And here white is not even that much worse, because he has a big lead in development, even though he has less pawns. Here he played d3, but the pawn should go to d4 eventually, for example castles, and d4 opening up the center, while black has only developed his queen. White should be quite good. Set d3, queen g4, and knight f to d2. Firstly, we shouldn't move around the same piece twice without a good reason to do so. Otherwise, we should again try to ask ourselves what's the opponent's idea, and he has attacked g2. Unfortunately, now we have lost a second pawn. Our pieces are strangely placed, so this is not great. And now after d5, a different kind of blunder occurs, which is knight c5, simply giving up the knight in one move. This is quite common at the beginning of our chess journey, when we forget where our opponent's pieces stand right at the beginning. So a good way to avoid this kind of mistake is to blunder check. Before making this move, try to imagine it that we have already made it, and ask yourself, can the opponent do anything like capture, check our king, or attack anything? And unfortunately he can take the knight. So at this point white is completely lost, but of course still anything can happen. Now white took the pawn, tried to exchange pieces. In general, when we're down pieces, we should try to avoid exchanging them, because then our opponent's advantage in material will be more big in general. So queen e2 maybe to defend like this, and then try to develop the pieces and castle queenside. Okay, bishop e3. Now some checks happen. Black avoids the exchange of queens, which is a very big mistake. Here black should have accepted the queen trade, because he is a knight and a pawn up, which means that any endgame will be easily winning, and without the queens on the board there will be less things to blunder and less, so to say, dynamics. So queen f6 instead, moving around the same queen twice, and now d4. Generally, when we have such undeveloped pieces, we shouldn't be aiming to open the position. We should try to develop them, and then try to do something with the developed pieces. But okay, here a few moves pass. Queen f2, f6. Now white finishes development, and black plays b5, which is a move which is not really about anything. And black should really try to develop his pieces, even though he has a big material advantage. The material advantage doesn't mean anything if the pieces stay on the back rank. So here, for example, something like bishop h3 to develop a bishop with tempo, or knight d7 or something similar should be a lot better. And here white had the chance to not remove the attacked piece, but instead attack a bigger piece, which is the queen, and also the knight is going towards d6, after which black is actually in quite a big trouble. So king f7 happens, and now white finds this knight e4. Again, why is black moving around the king? He should try to develop the pieces. Now knight e4 happens, and after knight d6, suddenly white is attacking his opponent, and he has more than enough compensation for the piece. Not to mention, this is actually even a fork, which is a very common tactical pattern. Now white picks up the bishop, and after this, knight d6, white is actually completely winning. The reason being his huge lead in development, which he has acquired since black has not developed his knights and rooks. He has moved around with the queen a lot, while white has at least connected his rooks, so his rooks will be a lot faster to the game and winning. So king e7. Here white found a nice fork to win the queen, and from here white managed to win without many difficulties. Again, we should in general try to develop as many pieces as possible. So if we see a rook on a1, maybe we can bring it, for example, here. Since the d file might open up, the rook will be quite useful. So instead this happens, but this is also of course good enough. White is a queen up, and any moves win at this point, and black resigned since the next move is checkmate, but of course he could have resigned much earlier. So here white found some nice forks with knight e4 and knight e6, and then going back to f5 to fork more pieces again. So black should have really thought about what the opponent can attack, and white noticed the threats and realized them.